The rain in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, didn't fall. It rattled against the stained glass windows of Vance & Son's horology like a handful of loose iron nails. Inside, the air smelled of brass polish, ozone, dried mahogany, and old black coffee. Over 300 clocks ticked on the walls. Pendulums swayed in erratic rhythm, grandfather clocks, cuckoo clocks, maritime chronometers, and delicate carriage clocks, creating an overwhelming tapestry of rhythmic noise. To an outsider, it was deafening. To Arthur Vance, it was the only sound that made sense in a chaotic world. Arthur sat at his high workbench, a jeweler's loop strapped over his right eye. His hands, once as steady as marble, carried a subtle, relentless tremor. He was trying to set a hairspring into a pocket watch, but his tweezers slipped, sending the microscopic coil skittering across the velvet mat. "Damn it," Arthur muttered, slamming his palm on the counter. The shop door's brass bell chimed. Lydia walked in first, shaking her wet umbrella and checking her glowing smartphone before even taking off her coat.
Dad, the front door was unlocked. You know the neighborhood isn't what it used to be. We have 20 minutes before the estate attorney arrives. Where are the inventory ledgers?
Behind her slid Sam, dragging a mud-spattered duffel bag. His hair was long, tied back in a messy knot, and his flannel shirt smelled of fresh cedar wood and wet dog. Beside him was Nora, wrapped in an oversized trench coat, her eyes glued to the floorboards.
Nice to see you, Lyd. Hello, Dad.
You're late, Samuel. The train from Port Portland was due at 2.
The tracks were flooded in Dover. It's good to know some things never change. Still living in a ticking tomb.
It's not a tomb. It's a workshop, a place where things actually function the way they were designed to.
Can we please focus? Dad's health is failing. Dad's health is failing. The shop hasn't made a profit in 18 months, and we need to appraise the inventory so we can put the property on the market before winter.
Are you selling Grandpa's house?
Nobody answered her. The three adults were already caught in the familiar gravity of their old roles, Arthur defensive, Lydia practical, and Sam rebellious. An hour later, the rain had intensified into a full autumnal storm. The estate attorney had been delayed by flooded roads, leaving the fractured family trapped together in the cavernous shop. Marcus Hayes pulled up his car outside and let himself in, carrying a black doctor's bag and a box of warm cider donuts from the local bakery.
Marcus, tell my children to stop treating me like a corpse. Arthur, as your doctor, I told you 3 months ago to stop working 12-hour days. As your friend, I'm telling you that your kids are right. Your heart can't take this stress.
He won't listen to us, Marcus. He thinks if he stops turning gears, the earth will stop spinning.
It's not about the shop, Lydia. It's about that.
He pointed to the center of the workshop, where a massive, 8-foot-tall wooden and brass structure stood beneath a canvas dropcloth. It was Arthur's lifetime masterpiece, the Vance Astronomical Clock. He had worked on it in secret for 30 years.
It wasn't built just to tell time. It calculated moon phases, planetary alignments, and solar eclipses using thousands of hand-cut gears.
Is it finished?
No. The main escapement mechanism, it binds. It stops every night at precisely 3:15 a.m. I can't find the misaligned tooth.
My eyes.
Why 3:15?
3:15 a.m. was the time your grandmother passed away 10 years ago, Nora. I designed the clock's main chime to play her favorite melody. A song by Chopin at that exact moment. But every time the weight drops to strike the note, The mechanism jams. The entire clock dies.
The room fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. Lydia adjusted her jacket, looking uncomfortably at her polished shoes. Sam stared at the floor, his hands clenched into fists. They had all blamed Arthur for burying himself in his work after their mother died. None of them had realized he was trying to build a monument to her memory.
Dad, you never told us.
Why would I? You were in Boston making money. Sam was in Oregon running away. I was here, left with the silence.
I ran away because nothing I ever built was good enough for you. I became a woodworker, Dad. I build custom homes, furniture.
But whenever I showed you my work, all you did was point out the 16th of an inch I missed on a dovetail joint.
Because precision matters. If you don't care about the 16th of an inch, the whole structure collapses. Look at your life, Sam. Your marriage, your business. Don't you dare.
Stop it! Just stop it! All you guys do is count who made what mistake and when. You're all obsessed with time, but you hate every second you spend together.
She turned, shoved open the heavy back door of the shop, and ran out into the pouring rain toward the unlit garden courtyard.
Nora, wait!
Wait, Sam. Let her breathe for a moment. Let her breathe for a moment. But you three, you need to look at what you're doing.
Arthur stood frozen by his workbench, his chest heaving. The heavy ticking of 300 clocks suddenly felt less like a symphony and more like a countdown. Lydia said softly, sitting down heavily on a wooden stool. She took off her smartwatch and set it on the counter.
I schedule my life down to 15-minute blocks, Dad. I haven't taken a real vacation in 4 years. I thought if I controlled every second, I wouldn't feel out of control.
I cut wood because it doesn't tick, Dad. I hated your clocks because I felt like you cared more about their heartbeat than mine.
Arthur slowly walked around his bench. He looked at Sam, then at Lydia. The pride that had shielded him for decades finally fractured.
I didn't know how to talk to you after your mother died. After your mother died. I knew how to fix a gear. I knew how to oil a pivot. I thought, if I could build something that didn't break, maybe I could fix the fact that our family did.
He pulled the canvas sheet off the astronomical clock. The brass gears gleamed under the hanging shop light, a breathtaking, terrifyingly complex labyrinth of gold, silver, and dark wood.
I need help. My hands shake too much. I can't reach the inner arbor.
I know how wood expands in humidity, Dad. Look at the frame. The outer housing is black walnut.
I aged it myself.
The rain today.
Yes.
The humidity in the room rose. Walnut expands across the grain twice as fast as brass.
Arthur stared at the joint. He reached out with a trembling hand, feeling the tolerance.
Sam was right. It wasn't a precision error in the metal, it was the living, breathing wood reacting to the atmosphere around it.
It needs a 0.5 millimeter relief cut on the inner mortise. I can do it, but I need delicate chisels.
In the top drawer. The set with the bone handles.
Tell me what to hold. I have smaller hands than both of you.
Arthur looked at his children like they are kids, and for the first time in 10 years, they weren't standing across a divide, they were standing around the same workbench. Arthur said, a rare, genuine warmth filling his eyes.
First, we go get my granddaughter out of the rain.
The storm continued outside, but inside the shop, the atmosphere had transformed. Nora sat wrapped in a warm blanket near the wood stove, holding a cup of hot tea prepared by Dr. Hayes. She watched silently as her grandfather, her father, and her aunt worked in unison around the towering clock. Lydia held a tiny brass lamp steady, illuminating the dark interior of the mechanism. Sam, working with surgical precision, used a microchisel to shave a sliver of walnut, thinner than a human hair, from the binding joint. Arthur stood directly behind him, guiding his son's elbow, whispering instructions on the tension of the spring. Lydia carefully reached into the top mechanism, releasing the lead counterweight. The brass gear spun smoothly, clicking into place without a single stutter.
It's moving. Dad, it's moving!
Arthur checked the regulator clock on the wall. It was 3:14 a.m. The four of them, along with Dr. Hayes, gathered in a semicircle around the great astronomical clock. The 300 other clocks in the room seemed to fade into a background whisper as the internal gears of the masterpiece began to shift. Heavy iron levers lifted. Wooden dials rotated, displaying the phase of the moon currently hanging behind the storm clouds outside. The minute hand clicked forward. A delicate, heartbreakingly beautiful melody filled the workshop. It wasn't the harsh metallic ring of an alarm, but a rich, haunting rendition of Chopin's Nocturne, the exact tune Clara Vance used to play on the upright piano in the parlor on quiet Sunday afternoons. Tears welled in Arthur's eyes. He didn't wipe them away. He felt Sam's heavy arm slide over his shoulder, pulling him close. Lydia reached out, taking Arthur's trembling hand in hers, squeezing it tight. Nora walked up beside her father, leaning her head against his arm, listening to the music that her grandmother had loved long before she was born. The melody played for 2 full minutes, echoing off the mahogany walls, filling every corner of the old shop. When the final note faded, the clock didn't jam. The pendulum kept swinging, a slow, steady, perfect beat. Dr. Hayes smiled silently from the shadows, placing his hands in his pockets. The next morning, the sun broke through the autumn clouds, washing the street in bright, golden light. The estate attorney finally arrived at 9 a.m., walking into the shop with an armful of legal paperwork, expecting to find a grieving family arguing over property values. Instead, he found Sam sweeping sawdust from the floor, Lydia organizing old invoices on an iPad with a cup of coffee, and Nora sitting on a stool beside Arthur, learning how to use a magnifying loupe to assemble a brass pendulum.
Mr. Vance, I have the liquidation contracts ready for the shop sale.
We won't be selling the shop.
You won't? But the financial records.
The business model is changing. My brother is moving back from Oregon to take over. The woodwork and casing restoration. I will be managing the operations and accounting remotely from Boston. And my father will be serving as senior consultant and master horologist.
We're turning the upstairs into an educational studio. Teaching kids how to build things. Is this what you want, Arthur?
Arthur set down his tweezers. He looked at his son, his daughter, and his granddaughter. For the first time in years, he didn't feel the terrifying weight of time running out. He felt the profound joy of time being shared.
Time isn't something you catch, son, and it's certainly not something you sell. It's just something you make room for.
The attorney, having no legal argument against that, simply smiled, took his papers, and walked out into the crisp morning air. Nora picked up a tiny golden cog and held it carefully between her thumb and index finger.
We were fitting the 3rd gear, Grandpa.
Ah, yes. Together now. Easy does it.
Together, grandfather and granddaughter placed the gear into the heart of the clock, and the room kept ticking, not toward an end, but forward, into a bright and unbroken tomorrow.